slowly let me down.
What's the worst case of helicopter parenting you've seen? My best friend's mom. They live 10 minutes away from me, and my friend is really bad with directions. He drove to my house and got lost, so it took him like 45 minutes. After like 30 minutes, his mom calls me and is sobbing because he hadn't checked in with her. He's 26.
In these situations, I saw it as his fault as much as hers. He's allowing it to go on. At that age, he knows he can leave whenever he wants, but chooses not to.
In college, a girl's mom stayed in her room with her the first week of our freshman year. Went to classes with her, ate with her and attended our dorm meeting, introducing herself as Crystal's mommy. She finally went home, and Crystal had obviously never learned to do anything in her own. Her roommate dated a guy in my floor and would tell us about her daily, multiple calls home. She didn't know how to do laundry, so mommy paid roommate to do it for her. By midterm, Crystal was failing all her classes and had basically just given up going to class as it was too hard. Again, mommy shows up, stays 2 weeks, talks to her professors, then pulled her out of school. I'm curious what she's doing now. Hopefully she broke out on her own and gained some independence. A friend's parents are hyper-controlling. He was on a date and sister called the parents because she was filling out the FIFSA, but was stuck. Instead of saying call your brother, mom drove 2.5 hours to their college town, tracked him down on his date, and then brought him but not the date to the sister's apartment to do it for her. Mom also came to the town when the sister said she saw his motorcycle parked in front of someone's house after dark. It was not his motorcycle. It was just another shiny red motorcycle. The helicopter parent seemed to have influenced a helicopter sister. This one kid I knew from elementary high school. The mom didn't have a job and somehow managed to be at his school every single day, watching over him. In elementary she was a volunteer teacher's aide every year, which meant she would help out in whatever class he was in. By middle school, she was the head of the PTA, and although not necessary, she was at the campus almost every day. She would just wander around, and eventually, the school stopped caring and she could do whatever she wants. She would randomly pop into one of his classes and just observe or come up to him to hang out with him at lunch. The kid was 24/7 stressed the hell out, his whole body always clenched up. His mom put immense pressure on him to do well in school, both academically and behavior-wise. He had an extremely hard time making friends, and eventually he was bullied to the point of randomly getting beat up. Made it to the first year of high school before he had to transfer to another school. It's her fault. All she wanted was for him to be smart and polite to teachers, and he never got to learn how to just be a guy and make friends. My son's befriended the new kid in middle school. Homeschooled through elementary school years, but parents wanted him to interact with kids. He's a good kid. Smart, but guarded and sheepish, but he got along great with my sons. They want to have a sleepover. He gets dropped off and his mother hands me a list. Had to be 4 pages of his routine, do's and don'ts and everything. Adam is not to have anything to drink after the hour of 8 p.m. He needs to brush his teeth with the toothbrush we sent him with. He needs to be asleep by blah blah blah. I have 3 kids. I can keep a 12-year-old kid alive for 20 hours without a list. She would text me non-stop. I felt bad for the kid. I let him know, listen, if you bend a few of these rules, I'll never tell your mom if you won't, and he had this huge smile. I'm not sure what kind of people helicopter parents think they're creating, but it can't be a fun one, that's for sure.
As in college, it was always a nightmare when those kids would show up at the dorms. The ultra-sheltered kids with helicopter parents go beeping nuts as soon as they get out on their own and discover alcohol. And guess it was to keep them from getting arrested or dying of alcohol poisoning?
Yeah, my roommate was the daughter of a helicopter. Her mom actually tried to shame my mom for allowing me to play video games and beep. My mom was also very open about intimacy. Basically, you're going to do stupid beep, just use some protection to be stupid responsibly. Her mom would write letters and put at the bottom, "Peas. No intimacy." My roommate would dip out and spend days holed up in some other guy's dorm. Wasn't such an issue at first, because it was just her boyfriend and he was actually pretty tight. But then she broke up with him and started spending the time with random guys she's just met. Which, like, fine, sleep with whoever you want, but she freaked out when I asked her to just tell me where she was and whether to expect her back that night. Once she just dipped out at 2 AM for a walk and didn't come back. I literally just wanted to have a way of knowing if she legit went missing and could tell the police who she was with. Of course, she didn't use any sort of BC either. Meanwhile, I stayed in our room and played Fallout. Me going buck wild being away from my parents was basically me eating frosting out of the tin with a spoon, because nobody told me I couldn't. I mean, beepy eating habits still aren't good, but my body wasn't going to be found in a ditch that way.
Did she ever come back though?
She did. Nothing bad ever happened to her, to my knowledge at least, but like, beep could have gone south real fast.
Good on you for being concerned.
I'm in college, living off campus with my 20-year-old roommate. She has to be in contact with her mom every single day. If she doesn't answer within a few hours, her mom gets extremely anxious about where she is and what she's doing. Her mom has called me more than once to see where she is. Usually, I'm within 40 feet of my roommate and she's just doing homework or watching cable. It's ridiculous that she's being monitored like a hawk when she's an adult.
Don't answer when she does ridiculous possessive beep like that. It just enables her behavior.
Or go the other direction. She's in the middle of a pagan intimacy ritual. I don't think she can hear you over the rhythmic chanting or through the makeshift ram skull she's wearing like a helmet. I'll have her call you back in, like, 30 seconds.
Dude came in to talk about his son's test scores. The son was in my second-year university course, and the dad was a professor in the subject I was teaching who thought I was hard on his son. We reviewed the midterm together. In the end, I gave the kid back 1 mark, so he went from like a 73 to a 74. Seriously, cannot imagine what it was like for that kid going up.
Laugh out loud. I used to be a tough for a beginner's calc class. I've had kids come up to me and tell me that their parents would kill them if I didn't give them a better grade. Well, firstly, you're talking to the wrong person, because you need to be talking to the professor. Secondly, it's not my fault if you didn't study hard enough. Thirdly, if your parents are really going to kill you, you need to call the police.
The mom of a former co-worker of mine. He was 27 or 28, and his mom didn't approve the woman he was dating, so he kept dating her in secret. He looked really in love with her, GF not so much, but seemed happy. Eventually his mom started calling me and a couple of other co-workers to check if her son was still dating that woman, so we lied to cover him. After a year or so of this secret relationship, the girlfriend got pregnant. My co-worker proposed and they started planning a small wedding. When the mom knew, she went ballistic and forced him out of the engagement. He literally broke up with the future mother of his child because his mom said so. All of this happened 10 years ago. I still talk with the GF because I was friends with her. She is living with another guy. Her daughter is 9 years old and never knew her biological dad. I have no idea or interest of knowing what happened with my former co-worker, if he is still living with his mom or what happened.
Did no one try to talk some sense into him before making this beeping insane move?
Yes, several times. His friends told him I wasn't really his friend, but also told him that his mom used emotional blackmail and it's super effective. She was diabetic and started having several health issues, and my coworker felt the obligation of taking care of her BTW. He had a younger brother living outstate, and he also had his dad. His mom had a good health insurance and money, but she forced him to be at her side. After this beep show, he moved to another company, and I lost contact with him. As I was checking students into their dorm rooms. One mother came with her son, who looked to be about 25, and she would not let him get a single word in. She went on about it being his first year in college and that she was finally approving of him moving away from home and actually going to college. A big yikes we kept an eye on later. When he was assigned to a traditional room with a roommate, she flipped her beep, saying how she wanted him in an apartment so she could stay with him whenever she wanted. Can't do that anyway, and she would withdraw him from school if she didn't get her way. Thankfully, I was already dead inside from dealing with other residents, so I checked her son in, and immediately gave him the number of my boss in case his mother gave any more problems while he was moving in. I later heard from another that she tried to prevent the roommate from entering their shared room, even though her son was desperately trying to get her to leave. And student security had to escort her out of the building where she sat until her son was done moving in. The son was actually a really cool dude once his mother was out of his hair, and a really involved student, happy to be on his own and living the college life, even if he was a bit older. His mom still managed to call our duty phones asking about him, but BC or federal laws, we just hung up. One of my neighbor's kids was a good basketball player, but she just didn't have the height for the position she played at a high school. Coaches recruiting her told her that she could play die if she switched positions, but her mother, who was a coach, would tell these coaches that her daughter wouldn't change positions, and to basically take it or leave it. Well, pretty much everyone chose to not extend scholarship offers at the DI level because of it. She ended up getting a really good scholarship to a DI school that had the academic program she wanted. They even had a 6-year program that combined undergrad and the post-undergraduate school she would have had to go to, so the process would have basically been seamless to become a licensed professional in her field. However, her mother was so controlling over her recruiting that she told her daughter she couldn't go there because the coach didn't send her a bunch of cards and whatnot, basically things schools send to recruits to try to convince them to commit. It's mostly flattery, so she wouldn't allow her kid to commit there. Instead, she made her kid commit to this tiny DI school in the middle of nowhere, literally nowhere. Extremely small and rural, that didn't even have the academic program her kid wanted. Her reasoning was that her kid would get a good Christian education, but how good is any education if it doesn't even have what you want to study? Eventually, the kid, with help from her father, quit playing basketball and transferred to a large state school because she hated the small Christian school so much, and she could finally study what she wanted to study. Her mom was so controlling that she ended up giving up on the sport she loved. This all would have been avoided if she had just gone to the DI school, But no, her mom took way too much control and ended up ruining her kid's college athletic career. I was 11-13 at the time. I had a friend on the swim team that was also around that age. His parents were the most controlling people I had ever seen. His mother looked like the head of a Catholic girls' school that punishes students for singing. We all used to play Nintendo DS games during meets. He just watched over our shoulders, because if he touched a gaming console he would be punished. His parents always made him wear the same clothes every day. Tan carcass, white shirt, dark blue sweater vest. I once got him a t-shirt for his birthday. He gave it back saying that he wasn't allowed to wear it. He was homeschooled. Pretty sure his family spoke ecclesiastical Latin at home. Beeping weird.
I knew a girl with a family like that. She legit would kneel to pray in school. I slept over once and they had a beeping church organ in their living room, with no TV because it was from the devil. She got dressed under her covers, because being naked was a sin. She had an older sister that flipped the beep out a few years later, shaved her head and had a mental breakdown and killed herself. We were not surprised.
Being naked is a sin? Did they miss out on, like, first 12 pages of the Bible?
A little girl who lived down the road from me and that I used to babysit. Her mom was so obsessive she basically pushed the father out of the picture without actually separating or divorcing. I quit babysitting when she was about 5 cause I couldn't take it anymore. My sister took over though and they were neighbors, so I kept up to date. She didn't learn how to speak until she was 4. Not due to any learning disability, but her mom emphasized not encouraging her to talk and that she would learn when she's ready. She only taught her basic sign language to ask for food or drink. Ended up falling and hurting herself pretty badly, internal injuries, and couldn't communicate it to her parents cause she didn't know how to talk. It was only her dad's quick thinking and taking her to the hospital that saved her life. Learned how to talk pretty quickly after that. When it came time for her to go to school literally down the road from their house, maybe 6 houses down, her mom couldn't handle the separation and would show up to the school every day. This beeped off the school, and while she made it through kindergarten, it was a few months into 1st grade when the school requested that she limit her visits to once a week and to only use that time to actually assist in volunteering like the other parents. So she reacted like a reasonable adult and immediately pulled her daughter out of school and began homeschooling her. Kid is probably around 18-19 now. Last saw her with her mom of course a couple years ago at a wedding, and she seemed alright, but who knows how well adjusted she actually is.